Hi, friends. Thanks for joining us. Smash that subscribe button. Thank you so much for the amazing growth. And don't forget, when you subscribe, you are automatically entered to win the signed Winnipeg Blue Bomber retro jersey signed by Milt Stiegel. Benny, where can they find us on social media?
Yeah, you can find us Ray Benny Sports. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter as well. Don't forget, check us out on Reddit and leave us a rating on your favorite podcast provider.
We got some Blue Bomber talk. We got CFL talk. We got those critical questions. We got grades from last week. We got a little bit of NHL talk. We got a little bit of NFL talk, but let's start with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers versus the Calgary Stampeders. The good, the bad, and the ugly. A bit quicker because we got a lot to talk about in a short amount of time. Let's go with the good. Bombers, I think it's a 5-game winning streak in Calgary now. It's crazy that they were celebrating the 1998 Grey Cup champions with Jeff Garcia in Calgary. And you're like, dang, we can never win in that house. And now the Bombers are on a bit of a streak, winning 19-18. What were some of the good in that game?
There wasn't a ton of good. It wasn't the greatest of games, but to me, I'm pointed out right away, stick out. It was the winning touchdown, basically. Demario Houston's interception and 45-yard TD return. The Bombers' offense was struggling. The D had been stepping up all game, and it's just almost the right thing happened where the D picked up the victory for this team, and Demario Houston just read Jake Meyer's eyes and got the pick.
I can also say the good is special teams. 2 out of 3. Castillo, 4 for 4, longest 44, hit clutch kicks into the wind. So good that, especially compared to the other kicker on the other side there. And Jamison Sheehan, he actually had a great day kicking the ball. Unfortunately, the Bombers covering couldn't really bottle up Lewis, so the net yards really suffered, but the gross, he was averaging more than 48 yards a punt. So shout out to special teams, Castillo and Sheehan. Any other good that you saw?
I'm just going to point out the whole D as a whole, and even Kyrie Wilson. Calgary had some great field positions at time in this game, and the Bombers D held them to just field goals, no touchdowns. So great job by them to keep this game at a low score. Plus, they held Kadeem Carey and Dietrich Mills in check, which is the biggest thing we were worried about last week, and they shut them down. So great job by them all around, keeping this and giving the Bombers a chance to win this game, or helping them win this game too.
Combined like 51 yards total.
Yeah,
that's great. So especially shout out to the defensive line on not letting them get to the second level untouched. Like, of course, Adam Biggo had a great game. There was great linebacker support, but the D-line really stepped up in stopping the running game. So, early shout out to them. Also, the good Oliveira putting up 99 total yards on offense. Clearly, probably the most consistent and probably the best all-round running back in the CFL. He's a Canadian, so shout out to that. Any other good?
Oliveira was basically my last one from that game. So,
yeah. Speaking of Canadians, and another good, Jake Thomas. He's been balling this year. Like, dude's at 4 sacks, and I think his career high is 5. I think he has 1 sack in the last 3 games, so 3 games in a row where he has a sack. So, like a fine wine, man. Maybe this guy is aging good.
Yeah, it's funny because every time the season's done, I'm like, he's done, like kind of thing. Like, I think he's done. And then when they sign him again, I'm like, oh, he's old. What's he going to do this year? And yeah, like you say, he's playing pretty good right now, and he's getting better as it goes on. And he doesn't look like he's losing a step.
No, and he's part of the reason why they stopped that running game, just holding that middle of the defensive line. So again, really shout out to Jake Thomas. Let's go with the bad. Sluggish start again and going 0 for 4 in the red zone. Those are killers. I'm not an analyst. I'm not an ex-coach, so I don't know what the slow starts are or can be attributed to, but 0-4 in the red zone, that is troubling.
Yeah, and to me, I'm just lumping the whole offense basically. Besides Oliveira, I mean, Drew Brown, amazing last week. Calgary had time to prepare for him, under 200 yards passing this game. Only 12 points by this team on offense and 264 yards of offense, net yard offense. Like, that's crazy for a team that the way they put up points against the Elks the week before. And then the turnovers, or not turnovers because they didn't lose the ball, but fumbles. Prukop, a couple fumbled plays with the running backs in that. So they didn't lose it. They didn't cost them. But like you say, it was all around kind of sloppy by that offense.
Yeah, definitely execution wasn't prime, but the play calling didn't seem to be the strongest, as it has been, especially against BC. And then Edmonton, I guess Drew Brown made it look especially good with his performance. But Calgary's defense looked like they were happy to just sit back there and see if Drew Brown can find the spots in the zone. And we talked about that last week. They're playing heavy zone, maybe man a couple times or a few times, but we were hoping that Drew Brown would be able to take whatever Calgary gave him. And I
Yeah.
don't know, maybe they didn't game plan for that because I don't remember a lot of slants through the middle or any crossing routes or players doing hooks and sitting in the zones. It kind of looked like they took last week's game plan against Edmonton. They're like, whatever Drew Brown worked, let's do it again. And it didn't work. And it didn't
No.
seem like they were able to change that game plan. So I'm not going to say that's troubling, but I don't know. It seemed like there could have been a bit better play calling and more shots down the field because it wasn't like he was in constant pressure all night long.
No, and then another play that sticks out is late in the game when they were 3rd and 1 at their 49 or so, late in the game, and in chance you get a first down, you're basically killing the game, and they took a time count violation, which pushed them back.
Yeah.
And then they had to end up punting, which almost gave Calgary a chance to take the lead if Rene Paredes had hit that 50-yarder. But again, sloppy play there too, and it's just like they weren't in sync or rhythm throughout this whole game.
Yeah, that Paradise. Oof.
Missed two. Surprised.
The Bombers, I think, have probably benefited the most with that upright.
Yeah.
You think about Saskatchewan, those couple times with the doinks.
Doink.
And this one, yeah, it's like, wow, we see a lot of those benefiting us. So hopefully one won't bite us in the butt. Anything else for bad?
Just to you looked at the special teams a little bit and had some good there, but there was also some bad. Another blocked punt. That's the second one so far this year. And then, like you said, the coverage team has not been good for the last couple weeks at least. Tommy Lee Lewis had almost 237 return yards in his game, and averaging 30 yards on kick returns. That's not good. And it has given Calgary some prime field position to take advantage. And Edmonton was getting some good returns last week as well. So Bombers got to shore that up and fix it.
And the Winnipeg return game is not as dynamic. They can't flip that field. And hey, you can't replace arguably the league's best return man in Janarin Grant.
No, it just shows how good he is. Holy.
Yeah. And maybe how many holes that he covers with maybe lack of, I don't want to blame, again, I don't have access to film, but, McRae seems like a great athlete who's now figured out how to, secure the ball, but there doesn't seem to be any holes available.
No, and he had some fumbling issues as well in this game. So
that's true.
He did make a great play on the missed field goal to get that ball out of the end zone and get some yardage there. But yeah, he's had some miscues. Like, he doesn't look comfortable out there at all.
The ugly. Just the game in general was pretty boring.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if Friday Night Football is still the staple game of the week, but if it was, my goodness, no offensive touchdowns. Like, I don't know. The game was just ugly.
Yeah, and the attendance was ugly because there wasn't very much. I know it was a cold, not great night, but it's been normal in Calgary this year for low attendance numbers. So that attendance wasn't good, and yeah, like you say, they didn't miss a good game, but it's still not good that they're not filling the stadium. It was a game of miscues, really, and the Bombers took advantage of one of the big ones from Calgary to end up winning this game. But they kind of got lucky along the way because Paredes missed 2 field goals, and then the Stampeders missed 2 potential interceptions, and then a bunch of drops by their wide receivers as well. So this was definitely a game for Calgary to take. The Bombers were trying to give it to them, and Jake Mayer's like, "No, you guys take it back."
Oh, Jake Mayer. And you talk about attendance in Calgary. They do need a new facility, but maybe they should go small.
Yeah,
a 20,000 seat facility, maybe. Because their fan base seems to be dwindling. And maybe that's what you need for the fan experience, smaller venues.
Yeah. I mean, that 20 to 30 range, I mean, you could definitely get away with that. The CFL doesn't really need much more than that, really. So
no. And leave room to be able to expand for a Grey Cup or something like that. Or if your team gets super popular and you can, and maybe you might build again an extension. But any which way. Shall we move on? Preview the versus the Owls?
Let's do it.
What boxes need to be checked for the Bombers to win? They can't start slow. I'll stop saying that when they start doing it. These slow starts again are puzzling.
It's just a huge check box with a check mark in it for the
Yeah,
next whatever weeks it takes.
until week 20, whatever. Like, I don't know if they have like a script that they, have some teams have a script and they're going to play those plays no matter what. And they're going to stick to it, good or bad. I don't know if that's the case, but momentum and this team at the beginning is hard to get.
Yeah, and like we said, it leaves the door open for teams to steal a victory. Calgary is not a very good team, and they almost had a chance. Montreal has been playing well lately. We've talked about them. They haven't been able to beat, the Bombers, BC or Toronto yet, so this is a big test for them. But if you give them that opportunity, I think they're going to take it. So for me, with that, getting that rhythm, that O-line has to be ready for that Montreal D-line. And that offense as a whole. Claros is probably going to have to get this ball out quickly at times and be ready for it. His last game against the Elks was a total disaster besides him getting hurt. The offense just couldn't seem to figure it out and get into any kind of rhythm there either. So O-line needs to step up and give him some time.
Well, shut Sean Lemon down.
There you
go. They need to score TDs.
Yeah.
Like and it's going to be harder this week. The last time these two teams played, Caleros threw for 2 touchdowns, got an interception, kind of pedestrian day, and they only managed 17 points. Montreal has only allowed 14 offensive touchdowns, 6 of those being in the air. And Montreal is second in the league at giving up big plays. And we just played the first team in the league big plays, and we only beat them by 1 point. Mm-hmm. So yeah, they need to use Rashid Bailey, Nick Dembski, Drew Wolodarski in the middle and open up that passing game, I think, is a box they need to check. Really open up the middle of the field.
Yeah, and talking about that coverage team, they need to stop Chandler Worthy here. Very good returner. If you give him some space, he's going to take advantage of it. So that unit needs to step up and make sure they're limiting those return yards. I mean, if you give him even a bunch of yards, you're giving Montreal a chance to easily get into at least field goal range. And Cote is going to hit those long distance field goals for the most part. So you got to make it tougher. Make it tough that they're having to move 60 yards instead of just 30 yards.
Montreal is last in the league in getting sacks. So Caleros should have more than enough time to find those holes in Montreal's defense.
It's been different with Sean Lemon there, though.
Well, that's the thing. Those past couple games, and props to their defensive coordinator, Noel Thorpe. He's had a rash of injuries in the secondary as well, and he's putting players in good positions. Like, he's been in the Canadian game for a long time now, so he knows that field and he knows where to put the checker chess pieces or whatever you want to call it. So, mini shout out to him. Their defense is playing good, so they got to find the holes in that zone.
Yeah, for sure. They got to take advantage of it.
Any other things that they have to check or boxes they have to check?
No, just do those things and they should come out on top. But it'll be a good game. I don't expect an easy victory here for the Bombers at all.
No, it'll be close in the last
an easy game. I mean,
yeah, close in the last game, and they only won by a Rouge. Thank gosh for Rouges. They also got to watch William Stanback. Dude only had 30-ish yards rushing last game against the league's best rushing game. Winnipeg is allowing 96 yards. So Jason Moss is going to try and establish that rushing game. So they got to stop Stanback. He's getting better. That O-line's getting better.
Yeah, and they did a good job stopping the 2 from last week in Calgary. So you would expect them to step that up again and be ready. But Fajardo's a more mobile quarterback as well, so they got to be aware of that compared to Jake Mayer.
Is Fajardo for sure playing?
Yeah, he is playing.
You know what? I'm kind of actually relieved because you talk about mobility and Bombers against mobile quarterbacks. Caleb Evans isn't a fun matchup, I don't think.
No.
Not that, Fajardo can definitely read a defense better and he's having a pretty decent year, but they got to make him hear those footsteps then.
Yeah. And then I agree with that too. They seem to be able to handle Fajardo, especially in the last few seasons with Saskatchewan and the first game this season. I know he escaped a few times in some plays where they had him, but he only helped put up 3 points, right? Whereas Caleb Evans brings that kind of like Trey Ford kind of thing where he can move around. And it kind of would open up things for Stanback as well, because that offense has been pretty good for the last 2 weeks with Caleb Evans at the helm. So it didn't miss a beat and almost looked a little bit better.
Oh, for sure. Well, they've allowed 35 sacks, which is second last or last in the league, or first, or whichever way you look at it. It's not good. But with Caleb Evans, they've really minimized those sacks. So
yeah,
Oh, they got to watch it if he gets back in the game.
Yeah.
Who do you see having a big game for the Bombers and why?
I'm going to go with Zach Collaros. Just coming off the injury. Again, he wasn't the greatest or sharpest. Neither was the offense when he played against the Elks there for a bit. So I can see him after having to miss a game, have that itch to come back and help this Bomber offense that kind of looked sluggish last week. So I see him stepping up and making some good plays for the Bombers.
Nice. I'm gonna give a one for the defense just in case to Evan Holm because I think they'll be looking to him. I don't think they want to attack DeMario Houston, so I think Evan Holm might see some action, whoever he faces of their great receivers. But I think Rashid Bailey will have a big game. We've seen the Bombers and Buck Pierce try to get him more involved game after game now, and I think they, like I said earlier, they'll try to establish the middle of the field. So I see Rashid Bailey having a real good game.
I like it. Like DeMario Houston has obviously had a great season so far, pretty good season. But he's gotten beat deep a few times, and Austin Mack and Julian Grant have looked good deep. So I can see them going that way on those kinds of shots. But Houston has also stepped up, more than half of the time in those situations with interceptions. But he's definitely beatable. But you got to be perfect on it.
Of course, Oliveira could also have a good game. Montreal giving up like 100 yards a game.
Yeah, Ottawa went well over 100, not by one player, but as total. I think they were up almost close to 150 or something like that, or even over that maybe.
And I think he did 120-ish against Montreal last time. So we'll see. Which Owls do the Bombers have to keep their eyes on?
Lemon gets stops some Lemon. He's kind of revitalized that defense a little bit. And brings another dimension to that D line in terms of pressures and sacks. So I think they got to keep a watch out for him, and which when you do that, it opens up other guys usually, right? So it'll be a good test for that O-line.
What a comeback story for that guy, eh? I'm gonna go with the receivers. Austin Mack, he's like leads the league in receiving yards now, top 5 in receptions, most yards after catch. Has the most 30+ yard receptions. Yeah. You mentioned the long ball earlier on. We got Tyler Snead, even add him to the equation of Montreal Alouette receivers. So they can't give Fajardo time, and they got to watch those receivers because they're good.
You gonna give credit to Danny Machocha again here, or what?
No, I didn't say nothing about that, dude. You said Machocha. I'll say Anthony Calvillo and Jason Moss.
But Machocha found these guys, did he not? And he brought them in?
I guess so. What do the Owls have to do to win this game? I'm going to say low penalties and establish the running game. Bombers had more penalties than Calgary last week. They had like 8 for 80 something, 8 for 88, I think it was.
That game was terrible, man. It was sloppy.
And then Calgary only had 4 for something, so that kept them in the game. So I think if Montreal does that and they establish that running game, we know they have aerial, weapons. So yeah, low penalties, establish running game.
Yeah, and with Fajardo back now, he's just got to limit his mistakes and turnovers. Try not to force anything, and like you say, get that stand back going. Look to those receivers to make some big plays, and of course the D. Al's D has to continue their strong play and get after Collaros, and not let that bottom get into the rhythm we keep looking for and talking about.
Yeah, Bomber fans and Als fans, put your thoughts in the comment section below. Let's move on to CFL Week 11 grades. I'll start off. Yeah. Let's go with Hamilton. I'm going to give them an F. They are screwed. They lost to the only winless team in the league. What else can I say? That's it.
So it wasn't good then, is what you're saying.
Yeah. F.
Yeah, Hamilton's in trouble, man. And I don't see Steinhauer lasting beyond this season if this continues up. So I'm gonna give the Elks an A. Why not here? Getting their first win of the season. It's on the road. Another strong game from Trey Ford in that offense. So congrats to them on finally breaking that 0-9 record. But yeah, I'll give them an A. I don't know if I'll ever give them another A this season.
Hey, we'll see. We'll see. Another streak is on the line. Let's go to their neighbors to the south, Calgary. I'll give them a C. They maybe C+. C. They stayed in the game with one of the premier teams in the league, but they just don't have a QB who can efficiently run an offense. So, and you know what? I'm going to go off subject for a second. There are premier teams in the league. We got this dude in Saskatchewan, Ballsy, saying, oh, any team can win the championship. No, man. No, you can't do that in the CFL. You need a quarterback. 3 teams have viable quarterbacks in this league: Toronto, BC, and Winnipeg. And the rest, there's a drop off. So don't tell me any team can. That's not true. That's not true. Sorry, I went off topic.
It isn't. You do need a quarterback playing decent, at least play, right? You're not going to win with these guys hit and miss, one game good, one game bad. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Bombers, sloppy game all around. What did you give Calgary?
C.
Okay, I'll give the Bombers a C+ then, because it wasn't much better from Calgary, and I think the only reason the Bombers ended up winning this game ultimately is Calgary shot themselves in the foot. So hopefully a better performance this week from the Bombers.
Oh, they have to, because I think Montreal's a better team.
Oh yeah, and they've been playing good lately, Montreal. So
let's go with the Redblacks. I'm gonna give Ottawa, oh man, a C-. That might be generous. Speaking of not having a QB, like they've been in a lot of games. Imagine if they had a bona fide starter. Yeah, C-.
Yeah, but sometimes it doesn't even, yeah. I mean, obviously they'd rather have Mazzoli there instead of Crum and that, but Bobby Dice is just making too many mistakes on that side sometimes throughout the game, and just some head scratches. That's not helping the team, but they're close. They're in games, so hopefully it'll get better. They got a tough schedule to finish though. Montreal, Winnipeg's opponent coming up here. I'll give them a B. They had to come back in this game and get the job done, but they didn't lose focus. They kept in it. The offense finally got it going. Took care of or converted on some of Ottawa's miscues to take over the game and win it late.
Yeah. I'm gonna give the Roughriders. I'm gonna call this the Professor Special, the B+/A. They get that / grade. Played a good game against a good team. Almost collapsed though.
Yeah,
that's why they're kind of on that / border, but they survived an injured Vernon Adams comeback attempt. Okay, you know what? B+, no /. Not a Professor Special. That just when I said it out loud, I'm like, yeah, B+, Roughriders.
Yeah, good game from them. Good game from that offense. Dolga looked good in that first half, kind of tapered off in the second and allowed BC to come back in there. And Dave Dickinson still, that guy, I love watching that guy throughout the game. Even though late in the game there, when it was 2nd and 1 or whatever it was, and they took the time count and had to punt after that because of the rules and that. So another baffling play. But I'm going to give BC, I could almost do yours, C+B. I'll give them a B. Slow start to the game. Vernon Adams getting hurt, coming back in. But they looked lights out in that second half. They just ran out of time. But not a good game. I don't know what's happening to that defense, though. So
why does Dave Dickinson always look like he has that look on his face? Like, what is happening?
Craig Dickinson, not Dave, right?
No, Dave in Calgary.
Oh okay.
Yeah, he always has that look. What is happening out there? Like he has no control over what's happening. Like he's watching.
Maybe still trying to figure it all out.
Oh my goodness. Too much on his plate. CFL fans, put your grades in the comment section below. Let's move on to critical questions going into week 12. You got the West, so you go first, says the math, right?
Yeah, I guess that's how it works. Let's start with BC. What's happening to that D? I just mentioned it. The D is, for the most part, this season has looked good, but against Winnipeg and against Saskatchewan now, they did not look very good. And it seems like teams are figuring out where they're beatable. And it looks like that long ball, especially if that D line is not getting to the quarterback, it's opening things up. And BC is going to have to shore up their defensive backs and help them out, because Saskatchewan had some big plays in that game.
Yeah, it's worth having some extra protection against BC if you can get that time to throw the ball. It seems like people are getting open. Yeah. Let's go with Montreal. Will Fajardo finish the game? It might be tough, especially with that O-line. Maybe they will be motivated. Remember, like the Bombers are motivated against a BC D-line to play the game and protect Caleros, and they protected him. So, yeah, will Fajardo finish the game? We'll see.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I mean, they're declaring him ready to go already, and it's only Tuesday, so it should be good. Hopefully. Let's go Saskatchewan. Can they build off this win? We got a bye week coming up, but then they got the 2 back-to-backs Labor Day against the Bombers, plus the Banjo Bowl. they need to be able to take at least one of those games to show that they're actually good or in that upper range. Because right now it's one off a win against BC. You got the win, you almost blew it. You got it, you look good, but now continue to build off it.
What a great time they have a bye for them.
Yeah.
What a great time. Good job, CFL schedule makers. Love it. Just a Bomber fan here, just saying. Toronto, can the Argo defense find their footing? I think they will, because Calgary does not look good. They don't show much hope. Their quarterback play has been below average. And I think the Argos will have revenge big time on their mind.
Yeah.
So, yeah, my question is, can the Argo defense find their footing? Because they haven't been spectacular lately.
No, and even earlier in the season, they had a bunch of turnovers and stuff like that, but they were still giving up tons of yards. Yeah. The turnovers limited the points they gave up and all that, but yeah. Speaking of, then I'll go to Calgary. Can they save their season at this point? They got a tough schedule to end. It starts this week with Toronto. They could end up missing the playoffs here for the first time since 2004. Like, that's almost 20 years here that they've been going. So, that Labor Day coming up with the Elks, the Labor Day back-to-back, that's going to be huge, and that'll be huge for both of those teams.
Yeah, the football spirits are frowning on Alberta right now. Yeah. Speaking of seasons, Hamilton, what can they do to make things better? Continue to use James Butler and pray, because there's not much else they can do. They don't have a QB. The locker room seems like there doesn't seem to, I haven't heard any rumors of anything, but there doesn't seem to be a team feel to them like they were when they were actual contenders a couple years ago. So yeah, they can't do much. Just Hamilton, you gotta pray, y'all. It's
crazy how far they've fallen off since those Grey Cups against the Bombers, right? Like, the Bombers are still going, and Hamilton just dropped off, and maybe it was the decision at quarterback that kind of hurt them or whatever. But I mean, Mazzoli hasn't been healthy anyways for the last couple seasons, so
no.
But it's been pretty rough and been a pretty big drop off. The Elks, they just lost a close one to the Bombers. Then they got a win. Can they make a run at a playoff spot still? Mathematically, yeah, they're still in it. Their next 4 games, definitely winnable against Redblacks, Stampeders twice, and Roughriders. It gets tough to end the season after that, but if they can win those games, if they can take the next 4, they got a shot. And even the crossover, the crossover is still there. We talked about the East getting better this year, but they've kind of tapered off between Hamilton and the Redblacks. So there's an opening. I don't think they're going to end up doing it ultimately, but there's still a chance.
I would love to see the statistic of how many times teams make a playoff once someone has said mathematically they're still able to make the playoffs. I'd say below 50%. I'm playing under. I'm playing the under hard. Let's go to quick and dirty predictions. Quick and dirty. I'm going to take the Bombers to beat the Owls at home on Thursday. They're at home, and I think they're just, Bombers win. Yeah,
this will be a tough game, but I think the Bombers will take it in a close one. But it'll be tough. They got to be ready.
Who do you got Friday Night Football?
I'm going to take Toronto. Again, you talked about it. Revenge factor in there. I see them beating Calgary here in this game, but I do see a lot of points in this game.
Yeah, for sure. Chad Kelly will be focused. We'll see if he gets too focused and he puts too much on his shoulders. So far, so good. He hasn't done that this year, but I think the Argos will take it at home. Next game, Lions and Tiger Cats. I'm going to take the Lions. Tiger Cats have no chance.
We said that last week was Saskatchewan, and look what happened. But this one more so than that one. BC is going to win this one, and this time it's going to be a massacre.
Okay. Who do you got on Sunday? Sunday.
The streak is going to end on Sunday. The Elks are finally going to win at home. I am picking them over the Redblacks.
I am also going to take the Elks to win at home against the Redblacks. We'll see. Sorry, Elks, if we have cursed you by saying that, but we'll see. Friends, put your predictions in the comment section below. Let's move on to hot topics here. Alouettes GM Danny Machocha believes CFL must take a good hard look at rash of QB injuries. Thoughts?
I like it, but I don't know what the outcome is going to end up being, if you can even find a solution to it besides throwing more penalties into the mix and stuff, which you don't really want to do, and at the same time won't stop an injury from happening, right? But I do like it. The CFL needs the QBs. They need good QBs, and we've seen teams go to their third stringer and fourth stringer so far this year. So if they can figure out, I'm all for it, and hopefully brings back some good news.
Yeah, I think if they can afford it, have a little bit longer camps with better conditioning camps, and in rules, even out that ratio, like we said before, with offensive and defensive starters. So maybe you can start more Americans on the offensive line. That's not to disparage Canadian offensive linemen, but I'm saying it's easier to find polished American linemen that are ready to go and play professionally than it is that's just numbers wise.
Yeah,
that's just numbers wise. So maybe that's also part of the solution until these Canadians get more time to work their way up. Like Chris Walby took a couple of years to become the greatest offensive lineman in CFL history, other than Stanley Bryant.
Yep.
Just saying, not a Bomber fan. It's the truth. Elks interim president, what? It's the truth.
I know. I just
hired Rick LeLacheur. Thoughts on that? Yes, and they got to find more ways to connect themselves to the past. This guy was successful. He said he's not going to stay long term. They still got to find more willing former Edmonton, former team name administration, because I don't want to say it, to work with the Elks to get those ties together and be successful again. Your thoughts?
Yeah, follow the Bombers, right? They end up hiring Wade Miller, and look what he's done for this organization since then. He was part of the organization. So like you say, bringing a past Elk to do this and who has that passion for this game and the CFL game and help to grow it. Because right now they're struggling, not only on the field, in the attendance. They have to bring that all back and rebuild this thing. And hopefully if this guy is only there for a little bit, that they have a succession plan and the next guy in is learning and then continuing that with what's built by LeLacheur.
Best landing spot for Johnathan Taylor. If it's money, go to the Bears. Him and Fields in the backfield would be pretty crazy. If it's to win, go to Miami or the Lions.
I'd like to see him go to the Bengals. I know they got Mixon, still good running back and all that, but I think Johnathan Taylor would add another dimension to that team and another dynamic player. Can they pay him afterwards? I have no idea because they already got a few guys to pay, but I think that'd be a great position for him or a great spot.
Baker Mayfield gets the nod as a Bucs starter. Thoughts?
Good for Baker, I guess. I mean, Tampa Bay didn't really have a lot of other options with Kyle Trask there. He's shown some flashes, Baker. Hopefully he can get it done. He's got two good receivers with Evans and Godwin. So hopefully this will work out for him.
I'm cheering for him, but this is team number 4. I don't think he's the answer, and I don't think that was the best decision. You mentioned Trask. They're the second round pick that they got in 2021. Let the kid play. When you do have good receivers, let him grow with those receivers rather than having to lead a other bunch of young, bright-eyed receiver guys that just aren't ready to go. I think they missed the boat on that one. Logan Stanley signing 1 year for $1 million. Thoughts? Sure, why not? Last chance, see if this guy is worth moving on up. Who else are they going to sign at this point? Ethan Bear? Nah. Just whatever. It's fine.
Couple 100,000 too much, maybe, but I don't know what they're doing at D here. And they're going to end up possibly losing someone, hopefully not through waivers, but they're going to have to make a move. You even got Declan Chisholm, who you still have to sign, who's an RFA and a AHL All-Star defenseman as well, right? Mm-hmm. And they have a logjam there between 6 and 10. I know Hanel is still waiver eligible, so he'll probably be the one sent down. But it'll be interesting to see what they do with Stanley, Chisholm, and even what's his name, Kyle Capobianco.
Yeah, because we missed. Man, what's his name that went to Montreal?
Kovacevic. Yeah, Johnny Kovacevic. You don't want to do that again, right?
And it might happen. Again.
But the worst thing is you're a draft and develop team. You develop these guys for so long, and then you give them away to someone else.
Benny, you have anything to say to our friends?
You know what? Thanks a lot for listening. Don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube and enter that draw for the Milt Stegall jersey. Have a good week.
And in the words of Terrell Owens, don't say I don't get along with my teammates. I just don't get along with some of the guys on my team. Cut. So after this Drew Brown game, does that put to rest any concern about what to do about QB next year?
Yeah, I'm back on the main Colaros train, but I still think Drew Brown's going to be good. He just needs more time, really, and more playing time to get all these kinks out, but Colaros is still the man.
yeah, in regards to quality of play, I'm not concerned. If Caleros gets hurt again, I will be concerned.
Yeah.
That's the thing. If he gets hurt again, I'm like, shoot. You know, does he want to risk getting hurt again, playing another season, or is going out? And if they win on top, especially if he wins a third one, that's statue-worthy, man. Why would you want to put yourself at risk? So then I'd be concerned.
Yeah, but you lose Drew Brown. I'm pretty sure Prukop is only probably for this year signed, and he's been flirting, you know, with the USFL and all that stuff. So you don't want to lose both those guys as your backup, and you know, have to find a brand new guy. We know too well here with Bombers and their quarterbacks and how bad they've been, and backups how bad they've been, and all that stuff. So they got a good group. I want to see some of it. You know, Colaros is obviously here, but at least Prukop or Brown's still around next year too. So Brown's gonna be good. Brown's gonna someone's gonna pay him, right? He's not staying here, and I don't blame the guy. So
it really depends. And I think, you know what, these guys are close enough that if Caleros has an inkling of he will leave, he'd probably tell Brown, you know, stick around.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This will be your team if I'm not feeling it next year. And if I am going to feel it, I'll tell you early, and then, you know, move on from there. It seems like that's the kind of relationship around this team.
Yeah, I could totally see that too. And that'd be, you can't go, it's not a bad thing, right? Drew Brown had one really good game. He had a really good game last year too. Yep. And now he had a bad game. It's going to happen. Colaros has bad games too, so.
Exactly. Long term, you know, what's...
Hey, friends and neighbors, don't forget to check us out online on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at Ray Benny Sports. And don't forget to check out our YouTube channel. Leave a like, leave a comment, tell us what you think.